Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has been told by the US that he will have to give up land seized by Russia as part of peace talks in Saudi Arabia to end the brutal invasion of his nation. Zelensky last night landed in Jeddah before talks that aim to reconstruct the recently fractured relationship between the US and Ukraine. While Zelensky, whose negotiators are expected to lay out a proposal of a sea and air truce with Russia, will not be allowed at the table with the US and Saudi Arabia, he said he hoped the talks were fully constructive and would lead to practical outcomes. It'll be very difficult for Ukraine in any reasonable time period to sort of force the Russians back all the way to where they were in 2014. Both sides need to come to an understanding that there's no military solution to this situation. Russia has not sent a delegation to Saudi Arabia, as it has only agreed to speak with Trump's team. While Ukraine has been strong-armed into unfavorable terms by Trump, including a massive rare earth minerals deal that would grant the United States access to key Ukrainian resources in exchange for the past and ongoing military aid to help fight the Russian invasion, and for Zelensky call an election and potentially step down as leader, Trump has not publicly asked for, nor received, any concessions from Vladimir Putin. While talks continue in Saudi Arabia, Russian soldiers are attempting to encircle Ukrainian troops in the Kursk region. In response, Kyiv said it was reinforcing its troops involved in fighting in Russia's region of Kursk, where Moscow's forces have been regaining ground, Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky said Monday. Ukrainian soldiers launched their audacious offensive into Russia's Kursk in August, catching even their Western allies off guard and dealing an embarrassing blow to the Kremlin. Read more. Trump set to lift ban on sharing aid and intelligence with Ukraine after last-minute plea by Starmer, but Ukraine has been losing ground and conceded last month they had lost two-thirds of the territory they once controlled inside the region. I made a decision to strengthen our grouping with the necessary forces and means, including electronic warfare and unmanned components, Syrsky wrote in a post on social media. Russia has claimed it has taken back control of a string of villages, including in an accelerated advance over recent days. Moscow also claimed to have captured a village inside Ukraine's Sumy region, Novenki, which lies just several kilometers from a vital resupply route for Ukrainian forces still in Kursk. Syrsky, however, said Monday that the dynamics of fighting between the Kursk and Sumy regions were under the control of the Ukrainian Defense Forces. He addressed concerns circulating in Ukrainian media that his forces may be caught in a Russian net, saying, "Currently, there is no threat of encirclement of our units in the Kursk region." He conceded, however, that Ukrainian forces were buckling under mounting Russian pressure and were having to fall back to positions that are easier to hold. Read more. Trump's shock new demands to Zelensky ahead of high-stakes peace talks in Middle East. The units are taking timely measures to maneuver to favorable defense lines, Syrsky said. In the last few days, open-source maps showed Russia piercing the front line and carving out a narrow salient in the small piece of Russian territory that Ukraine occupied last year, partly as a possible bargaining chip in any future peace talks. A number of settlements on the border, the names of which appear in the reports of Russian propagandists, no longer actually exist. They have been destroyed by the aggressors' shelling, Syrsky said. Despite the involvement of a significant number of Russian troops in the offensive, reinforced by North Korean infantry, the enemy is suffering significant losses in manpower and equipment, he added.